All right. So, thank you everybody for joining us. We have, I think, over 200 people on the call, so we are super excited to bring you this topic. We're going to be talking about the MAGI Expanded Adult Program. As part of our Redetermination Learning Series. And again, this webinar will be recorded and we will send it out and post it on group sites so that you can access it later in case you have any questions. And before we really get started, we'll do a quick introduction of all of the people here. So my name is Christina Hernandez. I am the Regional Outreach Coordinator for Southern Oregon. And then introducing in the background from our CPOP team, we also have Deanna. Deanna, can you introduce yourself one more time?
Sure. This is Deanna Simon. I'm one of the regional outreach coordinators on the community partner outreach team, and happy to be here. And this is an exciting topic.
And Ana Luz.
Thank you, Cristina. My name is Ana Luz Torres. I am one of two regional outreach coordinators for Lynn, Benton, Lane, and Douglas counties, and just happy to be here.
Thank you. And then from our policy team, we actually have 3 people joining us. So we have Christy.
Good morning. I'm Christy Taylor. I'm a eligibility policy analyst with the HSD medical program team.
Thank you. And Jewel.
Hi, Jewel Kallstrom, policy analyst with the same team with Christy.
And then we also have Crystalline joining us today.
Yes, hi. Hi, Crystalline Franklin here. I'm on Christy and Jewel's team, and I'm just here to provide just any additional support they might need. But they are the SNEs.
Thank you so much, everyone. And then again, also big shout out to the rest of our other folks on our community partner outreach team who helped with the creation of the webinar today. And our topic today, so our agenda is we're going to do a very brief overview of some of the unwinding process. We're only going to spend a couple of minutes really talking about that because the main topic for this slide is, I think, a topic that you all will be very excited to learn about, which is this MAGI Expanded Adult Program. So we'll give you a little bit of background about the MAGI Expanded Adult Program, as well as the eligibility for this program and any other pieces of helpful information that we think you'll need to be able to help people understand and understand this program and the requirements for it and the benefits associated. So we'll also have plenty of time for a Q&A. So feel free to ask any questions in the questions box, and then we'll also be answering them. We'll be answering some of those questions both through the questions box, but also out loud. And as we get started, so again, this is just a brief overview of this public health emergency unwinding process. And one of the things that we really want to do is that we want to remind you that one of the big goals is to really preserve benefits for members. And part of the reason why we're doing this redetermination learning series for you is because in addition to making sure that families keep the benefits if they're still eligible to receive those, or to get referred to services if they're no longer eligible for, or to other resources. We also want to be sure that you all, our community partners who are helping these people navigate those benefits, helping our members navigate those benefits, that you have the information that you need to be able to properly assist them and to give them information throughout this process. So also, you've probably seen a version of this unwinding timeline, and some of the key things is that one of the key things that's happening is that starting April, that's when the first batch of medical renewals is going to be initiated. So people are going to start to see letters coming through, notices letting them know that it's time to renew. The other thing is that this process is going to continue on through January 2024. That's when the medical renewal, the last batch of medical renewals is going to be initiated. And you can find more information and a more detailed timeline through the oregon.gov/COVID PHC, so through the Public Health Emergency Unwinding website. And this is just a couple of, so once that renewal process begins, current OHP members will follow one of these pathways to coverage based on their current income, their household size, and other factors that might be affecting their eligibility. So one thing to note is that, we do anticipate that most people will continue to be enrolled in the Oregon Health Plan. And for those who aren't, there'll be other options such as the Oregon Health Insurance Marketplace or other coverage options such as potentially becoming eligible for employer-sponsored coverage or Medicare. Um, and actually, before I move on to this, do we have any questions in the chat so far?
Christina, this is Jewel. I just wanted to remind you to mute our Teams chat where we're discussing questions in the background because your pop-ups are showing up on your presentation.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I think we're good. We don't have any clarifying questions right now, so we can proceed.
Okay, thank you. All right. So before we really get into this the main topic, which is that MAGI Expanded Adult Program, we wanted to give you some background information, which is that through House Bill, House Bill 4035 approved some funding to support the Oregon Health Authority's unwinding renewal efforts, and to create this concept of a bridge program to allow some people to keep their coverage if they are just over the current income limits at the time of their renewal. So in response, Oregon is pursuing an option to possibly create a basic health program, and if approved, it wouldn't be implemented until about the middle of 2024. And so again, this isn't final yet, it's still pending approval, but the intent behind this is to keep individuals covered on Medicaid when their income is at a level that might continually fluctuate just over and under the Medicaid limit, and to alleviate the churn back and forth. So people losing coverage from Medicaid, transferring over to the marketplace, and then dropping down again into Medicaid coverage. And part of that is really to ensure that that there's better continuity of care for those folks, as well as alleviating any out-of-pocket costs that would normally be associated if they were to purchase insurance through the health insurance marketplace. And then the other thing is that again, one of the key things for this is that this is for those adults who would be between the ages of 19 to 25 and up to 200% of the federal poverty limits. So again, this program is still pending approval. And if you want to follow along a little bit of information about that, more information about that program, we did include a link on the slide. And also, I forgot to mention earlier that the slides, the handouts are attached to the handouts section of your control panel if you would like to look at them, but we will also email them out at the end of the presentation. And any questions right now?
One question is, does this expanded income limit for those already on coverage also apply to those on COWM?
Ooh, I'm going to hold on to that question because we're going to be covering that one as part of our eligibility section.
Excellent. And then there's another question I think we can answer in the background, so I think you should keep going.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so now that we covered some of that background, we'll really dive into what this MAGI Expanded Adult Program is. And so this MAGI Expanded Adult Program, so, again, feeding off of what we just learned. So since that basic health program wouldn't be permanently implemented for another year or more, which will not be ready in time to support the people who are renewing this year, this temporary program was created with much of the same eligibility requirements that we think that the future basic health program might contain. And so this program is called this MAGI Expanded Adult, and it would be effective April 1st of 2023. The goal, similar to the other, what I mentioned in the previous slide, the goal is to keep those people who might qualify for that future basic health program on the Oregon Health Plan, and allow, same thing, making sure that we're trying to prevent those individuals from losing their eligibility for OHP and then transferring to the marketplace and then dropping their income again. So that churn back and forth between those two programs. And to set them up for easier transition into that basic health program when it does eventually become implemented if approved. And so moving on to eligibility, which I see that some of the questions in the chat were focusing on the eligibility portion. So this program is for those, so to be eligible for this program, people would have to be between the ages of 19 and 65, so just under 65, have income that is above 138% of the federal poverty limits, but under 200% of the FPL. They must be a U.S. citizen or have a qualifying immigration status. Also, they can't be receiving Medicare and not receiving SSI or supplemental security income. And another very, very important part of this is that they must be receiving OHP, currently be receiving OHP, and at the time of their redetermination, found to be over the income for other Medicaid programs. So again, I'm going to repeat that last part. So they must be receiving OHP, and at the time of their redetermination, be found to be over the income limits for the other Medicaid programs. So somebody who's not already on OHP before April 1st of 2023 would not be eligible for this expanded Medicaid adult program. And then should I pause here for some questions?
I think the big question, which I think you're going to answer, is really about folks who might be eligible only for CALM right now because they are not in the Healthier Oregon age ranges.
Okay, so that's actually a great segue into this next slide. So for this MAGI Expanded Adult Program, there's no CALM level version of this program, and there's also no Healthier Oregon level MAGI Expanded Adult Program. One of the other things is that there's no protected coverage provisions, and so I'll explain a little bit more about what that means on the following slide with an example. Individuals that are approved for this MAGI Expanded Adult Program are required to maintain minimum essential coverage for any children in their home. And some other, I think other important things to note about this program is that it'll be function just like regular OHP plus coverage. So it'll allows for CCO enrollment, and then the normal CCO enrollment process rules also apply. So for people who have a tribal status, they they would have the option of whether they would want to keep their open card, their benefits on open card, or if they wanted to be enrolled into the CCO, they could choose to do so. But they would never be auto assigned to a CCO without their consent or without their choice. But does that answer some of those questions?
Yes, and we have one more that is related to this slide, which is that MAGI Expanded Adult Program, people getting that continued coverage up to 200%. Are there any differences in that coverage? I know you say it's OHP plus coverage. Just want to clarify if there are any differences between that coverage and the coverage one might get at or below 100, the regular income limits.
Ooh, let me move on to this next slide because that might be, or maybe any of our SMEs might want to tackle that question. Oh, somebody said, can we repeat that question again?
The question is, when people get this continuing coverage because they are over our normal income limit of 138%, but they're under that 200%, is there any difference in the coverage or the benefits that they're receiving under that?
So it'll be
Hi, this is Jewel.
Oh, thank you, Jill.
The OHP Plus benefits will be no different. They'll be exactly the same, and a person will access services through CCOs the way that they do on traditional Medicaid. The one difference is in scenarios where a person becomes pregnant. In traditional OHP, a pregnant person gets enhanced vision and dental benefits for the duration of their pregnancy, and that will not be the case in the MAGI Expanded Adult Program, but that's the only difference.
Yeah, and that was actually the example that I was going to run through. So for somebody who's receiving this MAGI Expanded Adult Program, so if they were to become pregnant, so just to reiterate what Joel just said, so almost always they'll transition back to the traditional pregnancy level program through the Oregon Health Plan due to the child or the number of depending on how their pregnancy, if they have a multiple pregnancy, that would add more household members to the household, so that would potentially drop their income below the limit to qualify for the pregnancy level program. But in situations where that might not happen, so maybe their income is high enough that they don't drop back down to that standard, they wouldn't move into that pregnancy level program, but they would continue to receive the MAGI Expanded Adult Program if they're still eligible for it, but they wouldn't have those protected pregnancy or postpartum coverage or that supplemental benefits that Joel just mentioned, so the enhanced dental or the vision services. And by protected pregnancy coverage, we're referring to the protections that are applied when a pregnant person experiences changes in their circumstances that would normally result in them losing eligibility. So all other pregnant OHP members have protected coverage that won't allow their coverage to close if they are pregnant. However, there are no eligibility protections under this MAGI Expanded Adult Program for pregnant members. The other thing to note is that babies that are born to a member that's on the MAGI Expanded Adult Program will continue to be or will be assumed eligible for 12 months. And is there anything else, maybe any other questions relating to that?
I think you should continue to your next slide, and then we'll wrap back around with some of the questions.
Okay, sounds good. So some other key pieces of information about this program is that, just like with all of our other programs, so normal change reporting requirements apply. So if people's income changes, if there's pregnancy, third-party coverage, they move, any of those changes that they would normally report for any of our other programs, they would still need to report for this one. The MAGI Expanded Adult Program this is just kind of an FYI. It's the last program that the one system evaluates for at the time before it evaluates for the veterans or the COFA dental programs. So a person will not be evaluated for MAGI Expanded Adult if they qualify for any of the other programs, any of the other medical programs. And if an OHP recipient is renewed or reports a change that results in them no longer being eligible, including receiving MAGI Expanded Adult, they will be referred to the marketplace, even if they are approved to remain on the veterans or the COFA dental program. And so this is just an important piece, is that if there might be situations in which people still qualify just for the veterans dental or the COFA dental program, but are also eligible to purchase insurance through the marketplace. If you come across those individuals, just a reminder that again, same change reporting requirements apply. But if they do have coverage under both of those, marketplace coverage and COFA dental or the veterans dental, they need to report to both agencies. So both to report the changes through the Oregon Health Plan and through the marketplace, because those two systems don't communicate. So we just want to make sure that that people are reporting to the appropriate places. And then for our next slide, so this slide really just want to remind people that it's super important to respond timely to those active renewal requests or to requests for information, because so if somebody who's a non-pregnant adult doesn't reply timely to those requests for information or to their active renewal, their OHP will be terminated. And once OHP eligibility is lost for any reason, except with the exception of incarceration or administrative error, a person can't regain or be considered for this MAGI expanded adult program. So once eligibility is lost for it, they can't get back on it. So, but one distinction is that for people who get suspended due to becoming a resident of a public institution, they can, upon their release or discharge from that public institution, be reinstated into this this MAGI expanded adult program. And then another important thing is that the limit for this program is exactly 200% of the FPL. So anything over that is considered over income. So again, just a super, super important reminder for people. So I'm going to repeat it again, is that timely responses to those active renewal requests or to those RFIs is extremely important for members to be considered for this program. And individuals will start being evaluated for this program as soon as that redetermination process begins. And I also just want to remind everybody that, you know, we've been using you might be hearing this word redeterminations from other parts from other folks within OHA. And by redeterminations, we're really just talking about a renewal. And this is specifically the renewals that are happening after April 1st of this year. So one will not evaluate individuals for this MAGI expanded adult program when they are new applicants. So you know, earlier we had talked about people who if they weren't on OHP before April 1st, they won't be evaluated for this program. Another important thing to note is that people can have third-party coverage and still receive this this program, and that when evaluating for this MAGI expanded adult program, the following things don't apply. So there's no pursuit of assets requirements, resource tests, and then the other thing is that the individuals receiving this MAGI expanded adult program can't receive medical payments or special needs payments or be approved for any long-term care service eligibility. And I think that is actually all that I had, but I did want to leave plenty of, I think there was lots of questions. So are there any that need to be answered out loud?
I would like to bring a few into the space.
Yes.
The first one, and I will summarize because many people are asking the same question, is when must people apply and get onto OHP in order to be eligible for staying on OHP if they happen to go over that 138% standard income limit for adults? So meaning if somebody applies for OHP after this redeterminations, you know, renewals cycle begins, like maybe they apply in June, they're on OHP, they're found eligible, and then they go over income, would this expanded program apply to them?
It would. If they're transitioning from traditional OHP, they will be evaluated for the MAGI expanded adult program, regardless of when they became eligible for the traditional OHP, before the end of the public health emergency or after.
Thank you. And related to that is, how long would that client be eligible for that expanded program?
I think that just, yeah, I think that just depends on how long they remain eligible. If they experience a change that would put them back into the traditional Medicaid range, they would be adjusted as such. If they would otherwise go over income, like they were in the eligibility range for the MAGI expanded adult program and then experienced an income change that went above 200%, federal poverty level. The standard policy is those benefits would terminate, but there's kind of a collision of other policies changing at the same time, including the expansion of continuous eligibility. So if we are able to expand that to adults as well, then those adults may be protected, but that's something that's not finalized yet.
Thank you. And then is there an end date for this temporary expanded coverage?
The MAGI expanded adult program will be in place until the basic health program is implemented. We hope and expect to implement the basic health program in 2024, but those timelines are not guaranteed at this point. If that implementation date moves, then the MAGI expanded adult program would remain in place until the basic health program is implemented.
When you say the basic health program, there are questions here about the bridge program. Can you speak to the connection between those?
I would like to pass that back to Christina to talk about that terminology.
Yeah, so I'll go back and talk about, so I apologize everybody, I'm going through this slides pretty quickly, but just going back to this one. So so we really aren't using the terminology of like the bridge program, because that's kind of applying to some of the overall efforts. And so so just a reminder, so that this House bill funded through House Bill 4035 that was approved. So this was funding all of the renewal efforts, and then it started to create these things, these concepts of this bridge program, this basic health program. And so there's a lot of discrepancies between how those two terms are used. And so so when we're talking about this this particular program, so it's a temporary program, and we really this MAGI expanded adult program, like we're calling it this MAGI expanded adult program and not referring to it. And this program is temporary until, if approved, this basic health program gets implemented. So I feel like I feel like I might not have explained that very well. So if somebody else wants to chime in, feel free to do so. But that's all I have.
I think you got it well, Christina. I think the short answer is that we're avoiding the term bridge program because we began using it internally as an agency, and then the bill came through using the term to mean something totally different. And so now we're just not sure what somebody's referring to when they refer to the bridge program. So we're scrapping it. We have two programs: the MAGI expanded adult program that will be in place until the basic health plan is implemented, and then we'll have the basic health plan. Either of those programs can be considered a bridge, right? Finger quotation marks, to the marketplace, but they're essentially going to serve as the gray area between Medicaid eligibility and marketplace access.
Thank you. There are questions about FPL charts and whether FPL charts will be updated with this program and the monetary limits for different household sizes.
I believe the most recent FPL chart that's available on the form server already has this. I think it's just listed. It might not be listed as MAGI expanded adult program. It might just say expanded adult, but that's the column that has the eligibility limits for this program.
Thank you. We do have questions about long-term care. I don't know if we can answer them today, but I think, can you go back to the slide, Christina, that has the long-term care references on it?
Yes, so sorry for going super fast, everyone. Oh, right here.
Okay. Can we say more about what we mean when we say that when evaluating for MAGI expanded adult program, the following do not apply, including long-term care services?
Do one of our SMEs want to take that one?
My understanding is that the MAGI expanded adult program will not carry eligibility for long-term care services. So if a person would otherwise lose OHP eligibility, including long-term care services, but can receive the MAGI expanded adult program, then they'll just receive that OHP plus benefit and not the additional services benefit.
So they're not paired. They don't come with each other. Long-term care is still evaluated separately.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because of course, long-term care is not a benefit under OHP. It's actually a separate program that people need to be evaluated for. Is that the way to think about it?
I believe so.
Thank you. I think that answers some of the questions about long-term care that are in here. I'm really paraphrasing here. And I'm reading the additional questions to see what else we need to answer.
Oh, and then I believe somebody just dropped a link to the, because I saw some questions about, I saw some questions about the FPL chart, and I believe that that got dropped into the handout section.
So we do have a clarifying question here. I'm sorry, I was reading a question while you were talking, Christina. Are we ready to go on to the next question?
Yes, if you're ready.
Thank you. So I think we answered this, but I think some folks might benefit from a recap. If clients are newly applying to OHP after April 1st, and they are eligible for OHP at our normal levels, if they're applying after April, let me just read the question. If clients are newly applying to OHP and are eligible for MAGI expanded adult program, they can still qualify even if they didn't have OHP? I think I understand the question, which is if somebody's applying and they're under 200% of FPL, but over our standard income limit of 138, can they get OHP? I think that's the question. And I can just take a stab at it and say no. If somebody's newly applying, they need to be under our standard income limits. This MAGI expanded program is only for people who then change income and become over income after already having OHP at the standard levels.
That was my understanding too.
Yep, that's right. And it kind of helps to understand that when you think about it truly as a transitional program. The MAGI expanded adult program is in place so that we're not dropping people from benefits who would otherwise be eligible for the basic health plan. So we're preventing that churning back and forth in the meantime. But new applicants who apply and are within that MAGI expanded adult program range at initial application will just be referred to the FFM. They won't be approved for the expanded adult program.
Thank you. And I would like to clarify a term that I think I used when I said traditional Medicaid. I'm talking about our traditional income limits. So that is for when somebody newly applies. We have our kind of standard or traditional income limits that we evaluate people on, and those are not changing. This expanded program is only for people who are already on OHP and then report an income increase to help keep them on OHP up to a certain income limit. So I just wanted to clarify something that I said that was causing confusion for some folks.
Okay.
Can we confirm that folks who are currently on CALM or who apply and become eligible for CALM will not be eligible for the extended income limit?
Correct. To my understanding, for this particular program, they have to be a U.S. citizen or have a qualifying immigration status.
Can we speak to, I'll just read the question. I thought there were plans under the marketplace for individuals that are over 138%, but under 200%. With this new program, will this not be the case, or how does this program interface with those marketplace plans with financial assistance?
I'm not 100% sure about that one. Do any of the SMEs know?
This will replace that benefit. Individuals with income between 138 to 200% FPL will be offered the basic, when the basic health program is implemented, they'll be offered the basic health program and will not be referred to the FFM.
And for now, anybody who is applying anew, if they're over 138%, they would be still referred to the marketplace, and they could get a really great financial assistance package for a marketplace plan. But if they're already on OHP and they go over income, they could stay on OHP all the way up to 200% of federal poverty limit. And then if they go over 200%, then they would have marketplace options available to them. Is that that's my understanding of current state. Is that correct?
Yep, you got it.
Great. For those on Healthier Oregon who are currently on OHP and then report an income increase to put them over that 138%, can Healthier Oregon also be eligible for the MAGI expanded program?
So I think this goes back to this question about the eligibility criteria, which is that they must be a U.S. citizen or have a qualifying immigration status. So if they don't have a qualifying immigration status, they wouldn't be eligible for the MAGI expanded adult program.
Thank you. And here's another question. Is there a similar program in Washington?
Ooh, I don't know.
Do we know about any other states?
I'm not sure.
We might have to get back to you on that unless
Yes.
any of our subject matter experts know. Okay. And we have another question. Can an OHP member who goes over the 138% of FPL choose a marketplace plan if they prefer that, or are they required to stay on OHP if they're under 200%?
Do any of our SMEs know that one?
My thought is that in Oregon, what they would be eligible for is the MAGI Expanded Adult Program or the Basic Health Plan, and not be referred to the FFM. But I would like to confirm the idea that there is no option. I know that within our system, there won't be the ability to say, nope, I don't want this. I want marketplace instead. What I don't know is if they go directly through the FFM, if they would be able to access marketplace coverage that way. So I'll look into that and get an answer together.
Thank you. And then I guess one thing that I would like to note is that I had mentioned earlier, I'm trying to go back to this slide, that if somebody loses eligibility for the program, they're not eligible to get back on it. So I think that's just something important to consider.
I'd also like to clarify some terminology they were using. So we're talking about MAGI and non-MAGI. MAGI is modified adjusted gross income, and that the way that I like to think about that is that just refers to the income rules we use for certain programs. And those programs are for people who are under 65 and not disabled. If folks are over 65 and or disabled or blind, then they are eligible for different programs that have different income rules. We call those the non-MAGI programs. And so all of those are Medicaid, but Medicaid has different income rules for different programs that we call MAGI and non-MAGI. So I hope that helps clarify some of the questions that are coming through. I think the next question for that is, Jewel, can you confirm whether this MAGI expanded adult program applies to anybody who is on the non-MAGI full OHP, which is called OSIP-M?
Sorry, you're wondering if folks who would otherwise lose eligibility for OSIP-M can move to the MAGI expanded adult program? That answer is yes.
Can you say more about that? If somebody is 65 plus, they are on OSIP-M.
I have to cop to my ignorance on disability-related programs. I can take more detailed questions back to the non-MAGI policy analysts and get some information.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see. I don't understand all of these questions, so we do have a question about how the renewal process and this expanded program interface. And during that renewal process, when people come up for renewal in the next year, or if they report a change in the meantime that puts them over income, then they would be eligible potentially for this MAGI expanded adult program. So I hope that answers the question that folks have about renewals and how this interfaces with that. I want to clarify that when we talk about MAGI and non-MAGI, there are full OHP programs available under both of those income rules and for those different categories of folks. And they are both full coverage, and the coverage is the same on the two of them. From what I know, they're both full OHP, but depending on your age and your disability or blindness status, you may be eligible for one or the other. And I'm diverging outside of our topic, so I apologize. Is there a lockout period after redetermination that might I think the question is, if somebody I'm sorry, I'm trying to interpret the question and how it's related to this topic. If somebody misses their renewal date and they use their 90-day reconsideration period to say, oops, I missed my renewal date, you closed my benefits, can we please have those benefits reinstated without a full new application? If they do that and they are then over income, over 138 but under 200%, could they be eligible for this MAGI expanded adult program if they missed their renewal date and they're still within 90 days?
I believe the answer to that is no, but I want to defer to the policy team to confirm.
You're right. The answer is no.
Okay.
If there's been a break in benefits, it would just be treated as a new applicant. Even they would still be able to use the 90-day reconsideration period in the same way, in that they wouldn't have to complete a full application. They could just complete whatever action was missing as part of their renewal. But when they're in determining what benefits they're evaluated for, the MAGI expanded adult program would not be evaluated since they're applying after a break in benefits.
I'm looking through the questions. Can an adult apply for the MAGI expanded adult program even though it's not time to reapply for OHP or renew, I think is what they mean, so they don't fall off due to over income?
I'm not
Can
sure.
you state that again?
Yeah, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm following.
Yeah, and I might need to paraphrase this. I think the question is, can an adult apply for the MAGI expanded program? So the first thing is, people don't really apply for it. It's something that we offer. And it can be offered to somebody when they go over income, either during their redetermination or their renewal, or if they're reporting over income. And it only applies to people who are reporting over income that's still under 200% of that federal poverty level. So I hope that answers your question, Aurora. Right, do we have any other questions that I have not captured here that our organizers would like to call out?
Nothing that I want to call out, but I'm still chugging through and sending answers. Is everybody able to see the questions and answers that I'm shooting back? I guess you can't answer that aloud, so.
All right, if there's anybody, we have a couple follow-ups. One of them is about the marketplace, and if somebody is over 138 but under 200%, could they choose to be on a marketplace plan instead of the expanded adult program? And if we have anybody from the marketplace here who would like to give us some input via the questions box, we would invite that. All right. I think we've covered them. Everything that's related to this topic. So I'm going to pass it over to our other organizers.
Okay, I think that was all of the questions that I saw too, but anything that we're not quite sure about, we'll get back to you and we'll send it out when we send out the slides too. But also just a reminder that the slides were attached to the handout section of the control panel.
I do have a report here from our policy folks that our FPL chart, one of them, we have several FPL charts that show the income limits, the percentages, and the dollar amounts. One of them is called the 9954, and you can look that up in the forms server, and it is updated with this MAGI expanded adult program and the amounts for the different household sizes. And if that was already said, I apologize.
All right, I think that's everything I see. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today and for asking all of these questions. We thought that this was a topic that I know I have been getting a lot of questions from community partners in my region, and so we're just really excited to share this new program with you all today. All right, thank you all. I'm going to go ahead and close out the broadcast and stop recording. Thank you.